Sometimes I have to remind myself that the hardest part of being 38 is that I'm 53. And I say that because there's a lot of people at this NIBA conference that I've had a long 20, 25-year sort of career journey with. And one of those people is certainly our next speaker, Andrea Cattaneo. We both started in the capital markets as securities attorneys, and I think we've both had our journey, both working from home, joining firms, and she's taken that skill and ability to an entirely different level, and I'm going to let her tell you about it. So right now I'd like to introduce to you Andrea. She's a partner with Callagee Law, and she's the executive producer of The Heart of Influence, which I think she's going to tell us about.
I just might.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Seth. What if the most valuable takeaway from this event is not the deal that you hope to close, but the conversation that you strike up with someone who you don't know? And what if the real breakthrough isn't at all close to your comfort zone? And I've heard this talked about a little bit earlier when I came in, but it is so valid and it's everything. If it's all within your comfort zone, what if everything, all of the importance, all of the magic is just on the other side? Think for a moment, why are you here? Now, most of you are here, I believe, to raise capital, right? I mean, this is the room full of the companies that are looking for making these connections. I see a sprinkling of you who might be the service providers, who are here maybe to meet new clients or to support companies and clients. Some might be looking for that next trusted advisor that's going to maybe share everything with them, make all of the difference in the world. And there may even be one or two of you here who are just counting the moments until the cocktail hour, and it's at an hour. So you've got a little bit of time. The truth is, the strongest relationships don't begin just from passing business cards. And it's not just transactional. What we're really talking about is the beauty of a shared experience. And what is a shared experience? It could be a golf outing. It could be a first date. It could be a very carefully curated lunch meeting. But when you think about all business being built on relationships, it absolutely isn't just passing someone in the hallway. It's nurturing something, and that's what this conference is really all about. I have a few adorable slides, but I'm not sure how to forward them, so I'm just going to continue.
Andrea. She's done this 1,000 times.
Ta-da! No? Okay. Well, the next slide, I'm just going to describe it to you. What's that? Yes. Does this guy look like he's having fun? Can anybody identify with this person on a hamster wheel? Now, that's what business life looks like without relationships. And if you're just going from deal to deal, or if you're just always in arduous and not setting up relationships with people who could help deals flourish, that's what it could be all about for you. And that's not something that I would recommend for anyone in this room. That's just not at all the way to conduct business. And it's, unfortunately, a lot of lawyers feel this way. You know, I don't see many here in this room, and this is probably one of the reasons why Seth Farbman escaped and is a recovering attorney. But that's how a lot of professionals feel, like you just can't really get out of your own way. And the problem is, and this is just something I want to share with all of you from my heart, we
Craig on.
As human beings, we can't really help ourselves. We gravitate towards pleasure and comfort, and we try to avoid discomfort at all costs, which is perfectly fine if you're being chased by a mountain lion. But we don't really need that level of fear in business. And stepping outside your comfort zone is really, that's really the ticket. And before I go on, what I really want to do, if I could really get better at this gadget, is I want to take a moment and acknowledge someone who's not here. Scott, you got to help me out here. How do I advance to the next slide?
I got it.
Yay, okay. All right, many of you may recognize this man. Jim Hawk, he's got, I would say, for 15 years, Jim has been really the steady hand shaping NIBA into what it is today. And if you've been part of a deal here, really over the past, 15 years plus, Jim's fingerprints are most likely on it. His development of this format, his discernment, his flow, I just want you all to know that he really wanted to be here. And I think we're all going to do our best to channel his energy and to make his presence felt. So I just wanted to have a quick round of applause for Jim Hawk for all he's done. But also I want to definitely acknowledge Carlo Corzine for carrying forward everything that we're doing here at NIBA. And one final acknowledgement. Emily Foshi, she's been tireless. I think that she's probably been the executive director for over 22 years. And Scott, her unsung heroic husband, right there behind her, absolute force of nature. And Emily's just really here for us, and I just want to thank her. And if any of you have seen our website, you probably know some of these stats, but it's so worth mentioning. You may not realize this, but NIBA members make up or have raised over $100 billion for emerging growth companies, representing more than 8,800 registered reps. And NIBA has had its hand in 9 out of 10 IPOs under $20 million. And I just finally want to say a quick thanks before I go on to all of the entrepreneurs here, all of the CEOs in the public companies and the private companies that are pushing themselves outside of your comfort zones on a daily basis and taking risks. I look at some of you whom I've gotten to know, and I know how tough it is, and as an entrepreneur myself, and stepping into that rejection and what's uncomfortable. That courage isn't just the lifeblood of NIBA, it's the lifeblood of America. So I want to congratulate all of you and thank you. And yes, I'm applauding in my head, and you could all applaud for yourselves. So if I may, I'm just going to share with you a tiny bit. Oh my goodness, I am pathetic with this. I'm going to share with you a tiny bit about my journey. 26 years ago, I built $1 million practice from my basement with 2 little daughters at my feet. And back then, that was a big practice. It's probably not considered a big practice now, but 26 years ago, that was considered kind of astounding. And how did I do it? It wasn't just by happenstance. It was not just that I had a great mentor and that I was resourceful. It's that I did things that were super uncomfortable. And I picked up the phone regularly and I called people that I didn't know. And I also forged relationships, strategic alliances with, occasionally I see some of these folks here at NIBA. There was a stock transfer agent in the Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey. There was an independent auditor in Texas. There was an IR firm in Midtown. And we really did combine our ecosystems. And you may remember freeconferencecall.com. I mean, this is way pre-Zoom. This was during a time when there was like no other way for folks to all get on a conversation with one another. And we would do things that were a little bit out of the ordinary. But it was because of those relationships and those ecosystem mergers that my business flourished. And from there, I plugged into one of the busiest capital markets boutiques in the country. And some of the folks are in here in this room now, I believe. Yes! 13 years, and I'm not suggesting that the busiest is a term that I came up with all by myself. At that time, for I think 14 or 15 consecutive years, this particular firm was #1 in pipes by 3 independent league tables. And that's not the size of deals, that's the number of deals. So a really scrappy firm, and I was the first woman equity partner at this firm. I was actually the first woman partner, although that's been disputed by, I think, Michael Ferentz. But the pathway of going from there to big law for 10 years, something happened. Something happened that I'm cautioning you all to not do, and that is get comfortable. And that is stop doing the things that make you successful, because my really awesome trajectory had plateaued, and not a terrible thing. I'm just sharing with you, humbly that when you stop doing those things that really helped you rise, it could lead to being comfortable or not accelerating. So what happened was, and this is a good segue into the show I'm going to tell you a little bit about, what really sparked a difference for me is I was invited to a podcast, and this was right on the heels of my having given a webinar with, I think it was a reggae webinar, and I think Barry Grossman, and there were, a handful of other people from our space. Lawyers, there was an accountant who was on, there was an investor, and someone had seen my post about the webinar, and that led to other things. You heard Seth talk about the importance of posting. That led to someone inviting me to a show where I met 4 or 5 people that I didn't know. And from there, I'm still working with one of these individuals, but the way this show operates is it's just a virtual networking podcast that runs like a game show. And it triggered something in me to remember what I had stopped doing. So what came next for me is I started deliberately seeking out speaking engagements and searching for those ecosystem merger partnerships that had made such a difference for me in the past. And what happened was, over the next 18 months, I doubled my practice. And this is after 24 years of really kind of plateauing and having lost sight of all of those things that made a difference. So why do I tell you these things? It's all about how I think you can get the most out of this opportunity. And getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Really stepping outside. Why am I showing you Batman? Who doesn't love a guy who is a human but seemingly has superpowers? What are his superpowers, though? It's really about his tenacity. It was about maybe the drive and the vision, the mission that he had. That was really his strength, and wanting to do good in the world. And I'm not suggesting that any of us become vigilantes. That's not our path, but everyone here, I believe everyone in this room, has a desire to build a company that matters. And if that's your driving force, as entrepreneurs and advisors, It's really how you carry yourself with that inner drive and push yourself. And if we were to study some of the common threads of successful people, you're going to see only one truth. And this is why they persevered. They just didn't quit. They didn't quit. Sarah Blakely, you may remember this woman. She knocked on doors selling fax machines. This is the woman who built an empire called Spanx. And she became the first woman, the youngest self-made female billionaire. And this was just, someone who never gave up. Howard Schultz, Starbucks, he was turned down by countless investors, never lost his vision. And today Starbucks is one of the most iconic brands on earth. And Fred Smith, you may recognize his name, FedEx. He was told his deal was completely unrealistic. In fact, his Yale professor told him that it was a crazy idea, an overnight delivery service, and gave him a C- on his paper about this very subject. And he's built one of the world's most envied essential logistics companies, no doubt. And we brought up Taser a little while ago. Taser, now Axon, presented right here at NIBA. Jim Hawk almost missed that presentation. And Chet Paulson, some of you may in this room remember him. I remember him so fondly. He said, "Jim, you don't want to miss this." He was right. Being there changed everything. And that's why being in the room matters so much. So I'd like us to share an experience together now. Real quick, I'd like everybody to stand up just for a moment. Get yourselves out of your seats for a moment. Give yourself a little stretch. Put some endorphins in your body. For those of you who have done business with 2 individuals or entities in this room, I'd like you to sit down.
Just 2 or 2 or more?
2 or more. At least 2 or more. Okay, any of you who have done business with 1 individual or entity in this room, please sit down. Okay, we still have, and some of you are standing because you don't have a chair, right? Okay, but the fact that there are some of you folks who are standing have the most opportunity in this room. You're standing at the center of possibility because you've got relationships to build. And those of you who sat down early, you still have plenty of opportunity. It's just a little bit different. Again, it's stepping into the uncomfortable and striking up a conversation with somebody that you don't know. It is imperative, if you want to push yourself towards something extraordinary. And I can't help but take this moment just to shamelessly plug the Heart of Influence, which is really what changed the trajectory of my career. And that is a 9,000 guest thus far, 1,900 episodes I believe we're up to, podcast that was created by an individual who knew that the shared experience is how you build business relationships. And at the beginning of COVID, when people could not assemble, the idea was, how do we curate a group of people who could potentially get to know each other in a short amount of time, learn from each other, play a little game. Plato once said, "Play a game with me for an hour, and we will learn more about each other than if we spoke for a year." And he actually did say something just like that. I think he used different words. But there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to how do you get to know someone quickly, meaningfully, in a short amount of time. We've had on our show Magic Johnson's agent, supermodel Carol Alt, lots of people from our space. I've had on the former head of the American Stock Exchange before they merged into the New York Stock Exchange. It's just been a really wonderful opportunity for people to gather, to get to know each other at speed, and maybe to do business together. And then there's actualized intelligence, which I'll tell you a little bit about briefly. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Okay, what if a trained AI agent could give you feedback on just about anything? That's what we've got here for you. I've got a couple of codes to show you. Sorry. Our actualized intelligence agent is just something that if you have time to come up and speak with us, here you go. Okay, actualized intelligence, that QR code and the Heart of Influence code, if you are interested in having your opening spark, I call it, not your elevator pitch, but something like how you'd introduce yourself to someone, we've got an agent that will give you feedback almost instantly and help you really optimize your opportunity to make that first impression, because none of us, have a whole lot of time to, capture someone's curiosity. So those are available to you. And in closing, sorry I've gone over, I just want to say, tonight, at the cocktail reception, tonight at dinner, tomorrow, please divide and conquer. Don't gravitate towards everyone that you've already gotten to know very well, or people that you've done business with, but sit with people and ask questions that are a little out of the ordinary. Not just what does your company do, but what is your vision and what gets you up every morning. And listen more than you speak and watch what happens. And finally, Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society did say, "Carpe diem," and I pass that along to you. Seize the day. And what lawyer doesn't like a little Latin? Take care, everyone. Wishing you the best.